Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Teed Up. It's going to be a short one tonight. I will call it Barockered Up because we're in the middle of the winter in the UK and I don't want any nasty bugs. We're also still trying to dodge Corona over here. Late video, but in a way it's an early one. The tip-off of the LA Clippers versus Orlando Magic was at 8:30 UK time, so it wasn't having to stay up until all hours to watch the game. It was screened here in the UK on Sky Sports, so it actually meant I could spend Saturday night watching the Orlando Magic at a normal time. And it was a bit of a heartbreaking game in many ways because the Clippers took the game 106 to 104. Full credit, first of all, to the Clippers. I know we talk a lot about injuries in Orlando. Orlando, as always, without Jonathan Isaac, Markel Fultz, Jalen Suggs, Michael Carter-Williams, Etwan Moore. But tip of the hat to the LA Clippers. Kawhi Leonard, long-term injury, and also Paul George out of the game. If you've been watching this channel, I have tipped Paul George as a dark horse for MVP, depending on where the Clippers finish this year, having a fantastic season. He's out, and they were also without their Swiss Army knife player, Nick Batum. So three big absences for the Clippers. So it was a game from a Magic perspective where, apart from I thought a poor second quarter, it was a game we had a real chance to win. And obviously that wasn't the case. If you're a Clippers fan tonight, you're probably delighted with the clutch performance of Reggie Jackson. Luke Kennard also came up big. So Jackson 25 points, Luke Kennard 23 points. Talking to Garant from Orlando Magic UK via text during the game, both had a similar conclusion. You had to defend the 3-point line, and we didn't do it. That's the top and bottom of it. I feel it's a game where Jalen Suggs was really missed. If you're looking at it from an Orlando standpoint, really missed Suggs on the defensive end of the floor. Some of the looks that were granted to the Clippers down the stretch, I'm not sure happened with Suggs there, but he isn't there, he isn't fit, so you can't really do anything about it. I would say Cole Anthony, once again, just doing Cole Anthony things. He looked as though he'd given Orlando a real shot to win the game with a three deep late, finished with 23 points. This is just Cole being Cole. I'm not going to go on about it because I feel as though it's turning into a Cole Anthony fan channel, but again, another good game from Cole Anthony. Terrence Ross really was big down the stretch for the Magic, and I feel Terrence Ross and Reggie Jackson kind of fulfill similar roles on the Magic and the Clippers, where when they go off, teams have got a real chance of winning games and they can carry teams and they can, pardon the pun, when you think about Terrence Ross, torch teams from the bench. Both of them lit it up. Terrence Ross had a fantastic fourth quarter, particularly hit some, clutch free throws, give Orlando a really good veteran presence. Gary Harris as well, finished with 14 points. Wanted to give a shout out on that because I have criticised Gary Harris on this channel, and also I've been a little bit critical when I was on the Orlando Magic Penny for Your Thoughts pod. Recent games, Gary Harris has started to get back to form. He finished with 14 points in this one, and he's starting to look like that player who had value in Denver again, and long may it continue. Nobody wants to see anybody going through, like having a bad time of it, and, let's hope Gary Harris can keep it up and go from strength to strength. I watched the game with my dad tonight, being a Saturday night, and he'd said, "What's this young kid like who plays for the Magic? He's got a passing interest." I said, "It's Franz Wagner, young German kid. Have a look." And he was during the game. He's just like, "This guy's really good." And I was like, "Yeah, he is." 23 points, 20 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists for France tonight. Again, he's putting up. His scoring average is going up. He's getting more comfortable taking shots. I would like to have seen Franz get the final shot of the game, if I'm being truthful. I can see why it went to Terrence Ross. I think the Clippers were probably expecting Cole. Franz was inbounding. I would have liked to have just seen what would have happened if it gone to Franz. But these things, I'm not going to kick off about it or anything like that. I just would have liked to have seen that shot put up by Franz and see what he could come up with, putting him in that situation. Speaking of Wagner's, if you're watching the game, there was the incident between Moritz Wagner and Isaiah Hartenstein, where, to be honest, Moritz Wagner ran into his arm. Magic got a free throw. He was on the ground. Camera cuts in on Franz, his brother, and he's kind of covering his face with a towel, laughing, which was a pretty funny moment. And it was nice to see a refereeing call somehow go Orlando's way after some questionable ones this season. But yeah, it was a talking point. It's the first time I've really watched Brandon Boston Jr. I'll give him this: he's not afraid to jack up shots. He's getting the playing time. I know his stock plummeted quite a lot in the draft, but I think the Clippers have probably drafted somebody there who's better than his draft position would suggest. Looking at it as well, I was talking to Ross, who's one of the Orlando UK fans, on Twitter during the game. He made an excellent point. If Wendell Carter Jr. doesn't go off in the first quarter, is that really it for him for scoring output for the game? And he finishes with 2 points. So it was offensively a poor showing from Wendell Carter Jr., but overall 7 assists, 14 rebounds. He played pretty well, just shots weren't falling. But yeah, he's like the first quarter GOAT, or as Ross said, the first quarter most improved player. Really, I think we missed massively Jalen Suggs in the game with his lockdown defensive effort. I don't think the ball movement was particularly great in the second quarter. If you're looking at it on the offensive end for the Magic, guy behind me's jersey, Markelle Fultz, is coming back. I would not be completely surprised if he maybe sees some minutes in the game between Orlando and Lakers tomorrow. He travelled the West Coast. He's been in 5-on-5 practices. It would fit the time frame of the injury recovery. I'm kind of thinking we might get a Markelle Fultz sighting tomorrow. I hope so, because I think, yeah, do I expect him to come in and be prime, like best Fultz that went down last season with the injury the way he was playing last year? No, but the guy's got to play his way back to fitness at some point and get some reps out on the court. So I think we might see Fultz against the Lakers tomorrow. Another jersey I've got up there is Chuma Okeke, a guy who's he missed the preseason for the Magic, and I think it's really showing. I like Chuma Okeke. I think he's a good player. I think he's got a good basketball mind. I don't think this has been a great season so far for Chuma, and I don't know if it's a case of he's not used to the system, having missed the preseason. Is it a case of he's not fully up to speed? Is it a case of he's not clicking in Coach Mosley's plans at the minute? Don't know what it is, but I think we can get better from Chuma than we've seen so far this season, and I'm pulling for that because I like him. So it was a real heartbreaker. The game really swung towards the end. It looked as though at one point the Clippers might pull away. Cole Anthony hits the three. Then Reggie Jackson, 2-point play with Wendell Carter Jr., who's a good defender all over him. And Terrence Ross can't make the play at the end of the game. It was really, really disappointing. Magic roll on against the Lakers tomorrow. That should be a game where you'd look at it and go, you'd fancy the Lakers to squash Orlando. I'm not 100% sure about that, to be totally honest. The Lakers haven't really wowed this season. There looks to be a lot of problems there as well. So maybe the Magic can sneak a win there tomorrow, just to move out of LA with something positive to talk about. But some good performances within the game. A little bit disappointing towards the end. Hats off to the LA Clippers, playing, with injuries themselves. Big games from Reggie Jackson and Luke Kennard. But ultimately, the Magic have got to find a way to defend the three-point shot better than they did in that game, because they were killed by Kennard and Jackson in that game. Have a great night, everyone. Speak to you later. Thanks for watching.